France was surrounded by Habsburgs, who harboured notions of a monarchia universale ruling all Europe, to avoid which Francis I signs a concordat with the Turks, and the following century Richelieu subsidises the Dutch and Swedes. The core of the Scottish Army is made up of professional soldiers who've served Sweden but been paid by France. Charles, having been beaten in the First Bishops' War, accuses the Scots of intriguing with France and summons Parliament. But instead of nationalist outrage at the Scots and France, Parliament demands Charles reforms himself, upon which he dismisses them. The Second Bishops' War is more disastrous than the first, and leaves the Scots in possession of the two northern counties of England. Frederick Henry, Prince of Orange, a small principality, has been angling for a marriage to elevate his dynastic status into the big league. He sends Heelwet to negotiate a marriage between his son William and Charles's daughter. The Dutch ambassador to England, Sommelsdijk, had two tasks: to explain away the Battle of the Downs violation of neutrality, and to prevent England making a treaty with Spain. In 1635, the French and Dutch had agreed to expel Spain and divide Flanders. 2 years later, Charles told the Spanish ambassador he'd do all he can to stop it. As it transpired, neither Spain nor Charles can help the other. In November, Charles recalls Parliament, they arrest Strafford and Laud, abolish ship money and the Star Chamber, and pay off the Scots. In desperation, Charles agrees to marry his eldest daughter Mary to William. They are married in May, and 10 days later Strafford is executed. The king resigns himself to impotence, but Henrietta has more animus and conceives the catastrophic notion of arresting the leading parliamentarians. When this goes pear-shaped, the king flees to Oxford and the queen flees to Holland. Frederick Henry now picks up the tab for Henrietta, Mary and 300 courtiers, a source of much amusement for the parliamentarian spy, and his deference to Mary is more like a subject than a father-in-law. In August 1642, Charles raises the royal battle standard and the civil war begins. The states of Holland declare neutrality. Strickland arrives in September and prompts Holland to impound ships loaded with royalist supplies. Henrietta Maria is incandescent. Dutch sympathy is overwhelmingly with the parliamentarians, and Frederick Henry's dynastic ambitions have united the Calvinist commonalty and merchant oligarchs. Robert Bailey's cousin William Spang inspires the Zealand Synod to write letters of support. The Prince of Orange can offer only limited assistance: a loan, guns, officer's leave, and he exports tin from Cornwall for the royalist purse. In February 1643, Henrietta Maria, having pawned the crown jewels, sails for England with a second ship loaded with arms and soldiers. The summer of 1643 is the high watermark for Charles, with royalist success in Banbury, Oxford, Reading and Bristol. Frederick Henry sends 2 mediators to persuade Parliament to compromise, but their royalist bias leads to an unpleasant incident. The following year at Marston Moor, Prince Rupert is routed. Charles' uncle, Christian IV of Denmark, sends a shipment of arms in exchange for the Shetland and Orkney Isles. The ship was intercepted and seized by Parliament. In 1645, with defeat at Naseby, it is all over. The king has no army, only irregular bands. Charles attempts a final triple alliance. French hostility had died with Richelieu, and Mazarin was lukewarm. Frederick Henry was to persuade the States to send 3,000 troops, but only if France opted in. The plan was a non-starter. Holland had supported Sweden in their war with Denmark, and when Frederick attempted to change the state's policy in favour of Charles's uncle, he'd been told not to strain the rope. Also, Lord Digby's papers captured at Naseby had been published in Holland, showing duplicity and plotting. The Prince of Orange was finished as a force. In 1646, Charles surrendered to the Scots at Newark. In 1647, Frederick Henry died, old before his time. Christian IV recognised Parliament in exchange for a loan. Charles was executed in 1649. William II died of smallpox in 1650. Mary returned to England with Charles II in 1660 and died of smallpox the same year, leaving behind her son, the future William III of England.